Hey guys, Sean here. Today I'll be profiling my Fire King Tri-Brigade deck. Fire King and Tri-Brigade make a really good deck when you combine them together, both focusing on Beast, Beast Warrior and Winged Beast monsters. There's a lot of great synergy here. Obviously all of your Fire King monsters are fire, but also most of your Tri-Brigade monsters are also fire, so there's a lot of crazy combos you can do with this deck. One of my favorite ways to play both Fire King and Tri-Brigade. Pure Tri-Brigade has been one of my favorite decks for a long time, but combining the two decks together, it is insanely strong. So let's get right into the profile. Let's begin with 2 copies of your legendary Fire King Ponix. Your main searcher of the deck, on normal or special summon, searches you any Fire King spell trap. This is one of your main combo starters on your Fire King side. You'll mainly be using this to search your Fire King Sanctuary, which will be able to search you your Fire King Island. Also, if a Fire King card is destroyed, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if this card itself is destroyed, you can add it back to your hand during the next standby phase. So, one of the best cards in the deck. It's a starter, it brings itself back, it's a free special summon if a monster is destroyed, and it's also a level 1 Winged Beast, so we can definitely search this in the deck using cards like a Shuraig as part of our main Tri-Brigade combo, which is really cool. So because we can search it, 2 copies of Ponix is more than enough. Next up, 3 copies of one of the new Fire King cards, and one of the best cards in the deck honestly, of your Fire King Ulcanix. On summon, you can destroy a fire monster from your hand or field besides itself to add any fire beast, beast warrior or winged beast from your deck to your hand. And then you can change its level to the level of the monster you add. This card is insane. Although you need a fire monster in your hand to destroy, we run so many fire monsters in the deck, so most of the time this card will always be live. Can search you any card in the deck pretty much, even your Tri-Brigade stuff, which is great. Also, if this card is destroyed itself, you can special summon the original Garunix straight from your deck. This is really important for your combos. Getting the additional body on field is really important for going into your rank 8s. So Ulcanix, an insanely good card in the deck, synergizes with both archetypes extremely well, so you 100% max this card out at 3 copies. Next up, for our Beast Warriors in our Fire King side, we have 1 Arvata and 1 Barong. Arvata is a monster negate. Whilst on the field and your opponent activates monster effect, you can destroy a fire monster from your hand or field to negate the effect. Also, if this card is destroyed, you can special summon a Fire King monster from your grave, but negate its effects. So not only is it a really good end board piece, it's also able to bring stuff back from the grave, so it's really good. And Barong is cool as well. You can special summon it from your hand if a Fire King monster is destroyed in the field, and if Barong itself is destroyed, during the next standby phase, you can add any Fire King card from your deck to your hand. This is really good at getting you cards like your Kirin into rotation. These 2 are both Beast Warriors, meaning we can search it off of our Tenki. Tenki is really good because it's able to find us Fire King cards and Tri-Brigade cards. So these 2 being Beast Warriors is really good, so 1 copy of each is great. Next up, 1 copy of your Sacred Fire King Garunix. I only run the 1 copy. I really wanted to make this deck 40 cards, so the 1 copy is more than enough. It can revive itself from the grave, so most of the time you won't really have to worry about losing this card. But what this card does is, when a fire monster is destroyed, you can special summon this card from your hand or grave. On summon, you can destroy a fire monster from your field, hand or deck, and it gains attack equal to the attack of the destroyed monster. Being able to destroy any card straight from your deck is insanely good for the deck. Not only can you destroy your Fire King monsters to gain their effects, but you can also destroy something like a Tri-Brigade Kitt, which is able to dump a Nervall, which can add you any Tri-Brigade card. So this card can bridge the 2 decks together, which is insanely good, and it keeps coming back. It's level 8, so it's really important for your Xyz plays. If you want to run 2, definitely go ahead, but the 1 copy here is perfectly fine. And next up, the OG Garunix, your Fire King High Avatar Garunix. You will be special summoning this card when your Ulcanix is destroyed, and its effect is, during the standby phase, if this card was destroyed, you can special summon it from the graveyard, and if you do, destroy all cards in the field. Most of the time you won't be using this effect, you'll just be using it as a level 8 body to go into your level 8 Xyz. It's the necessary brick we need to run in the deck, so we run the 1 copy. Next up, 3 copies of your Kirin, one of the best cards in the deck. Whilst cards in your hand, you can quick effect destroy a fire monster from your field or hand to special summon it. So already really good for protecting some of your monsters on the field. If you normal summon something like a Ponix and your opponent tries to imperm, you can activate Kirin, target the Ponix, destroy it, so it will avoid being negated by the imperm, and then you get to special summon your Kirin. There are also a lot of really good targets in the deck that you just want to destroy on command, so having Kirin in hand is fantastic. And also, if Kirin is destroyed, you can special summon a Fire King monster from your graveyard and then pop any card in the field. This effect is so good. There's a lot of different ways we can pop this card, using cards like our Arvata or even our Garunix. So 3 copies of Kirin, super good. You definitely don't want to run any less. Moving on to the Tri-Brigade side now, of course, triple Tri-Brigade Fraktall. It is a Fire Beast Warrior, so it synergizes very well with the Fire King side. All of the Tri-Brigade main deck monsters have the effect where, while they're on the field, you can banish any number of Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast monsters in your graveyard to special summon a Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast Link monster with the same Link rating as the amount of monsters you banished. So essentially, you're going to be banishing a bunch of Beast, Beast Warrior, Wing Beast monsters from your graveyard in order to summon your big Tri-Brigade boss monsters, like your Shuraig. But Fraktall's unique effect is that you can send this card from your hand or field to the grave to send any Tri-Brigade monster from your deck to grave. You'll be using this mostly to send your Tri-Brigade Kitt to the grave, which is a really good target. Again, it's a fire, so that's really good. When Kitt is sent to grave, you can send another Tri-Brigade monster from deck to grave, so you can either get Kitt into your grave by sending it off of your Fraktall, or by popping it straight from the deck with your Garunix, and most of the time you'll be sending a copy of your Nervall. When Nervall is sent to grave, you can add any Tri-Brigade monster from deck to hand, and again, most of the time you'll be adding your single copy of your Kerass. What Kerass does is that you can discard a Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast from your hand to special summon it from your hand. So this card can discard any Tri-Brigade or Fire King monster from your hand to special summon itself, and then you can use this effect to banish your monsters from the grave to summon out some of your strong Link monsters. This is the Tri-Brigade package we run in the deck. I think this is pretty good. You definitely want to max out on your fire monsters, and you only really need 1 copy of each of your Nervall and Kerass. You can bump them up if you like, but I think the 1 copy of each is perfectly fine. Onto the hand traps now. 1 copy of DD Crow. The main reason we run this is because we're able to search this directly off of our Shuraig. It is a level 1 wing beast that your Shuraig is able to search, so we run the 1 copy. It can be really good in certain matchups, really good against decks like Fiendsmith and all that. So the 1 copy is great. You can run more if you want, but I think the 1 copy, because it's searchable, is good enough. Next up, we have 3 copies of Ash. Not only is Ash a fantastic hand trap in general, but since it's a fire monster, it has great synergy with our Fire King cards. It's a target for cards like your Ulcanix. If you need to be able to start your combo and you only have Ulcanix and an Ash, you can pop the Ash to start your combo that way. We can also add it back from the grave using cards like our Sunlight Wolf. So triple Ash, one of the best hand traps in the game, and has great synergy with the deck, so definitely run Ash. Next up, 3 copies of your Droll and Lockbird. Honestly, this can be any hand trap you want. I just think Droll is pretty good. I wanted this deck to have at least 12 spots for non-engine and hand traps, so I think Ash is the only one that you really need to run. Otherwise, you can run whatever hand traps you want. And I also run 2 copies of Nib to round out the hand trap playset at 12 hand traps in the deck. I think it's pretty good, but run whatever hand traps you like in the deck. Next up, we have 2 copies of your Fire King Sanctuary and 2 copies of your Fire King Island. Both are searchable off of your Ponix. Sanctuary is a continuous spell where when you activate it, you can activate Fire King Island directly from the deck. And if your Fire King Island will be destroyed, you can use Sanctuary's effect to destroy a fire monster you control or from your hand instead. Also, Sanctuary allows you to Xyz summon during your opponent's turn if they special summon a monster. This allows you to Xyz into your Garunix Eternity, which is a board wipe. So that's really good. And Fire King Island is a very strong field spell. It allows you to destroy a monster from your hand to add any Fire King monster from your deck to your hand. Or if you control no monsters, it allows you to special summon a Fire King monster directly from your hand. Both effects are great, but the search effect is the main effect you'll be using. However, Island does have a downside. If it leaves the field, it will destroy all monsters you control. In a pure Fire King build, this wouldn't be too bad, but since we're running other monsters like the Tri-Brigades, this can be a lot more detrimental, so you really want to protect your Fire King Island. Sanctuary being able to do that is fantastic, but just keep that in mind. But I think this ratio here is pretty good. Next up, 1 copy of your Fire King Skyburn, again searchable off of your Ponix. It is a quick play spell that lets you target any number of Fire King monsters you control, and any number of cards your opponent controls, and destroy them. So a really great form of removal, easily searchable, and can even give you advantage depending on what you pop. So the 1 copy is great. Of course, if you're playing pure, you can run more, but in a Fire King Tri-Brigade build, I think the 1 copy is more than enough. Next up, we have the 1 Tenki. On activation, searches you any level 4 Beast Warrior, which will be your Arvata, your Barong, or your Tri-Brigade Fraktall. So this 1 card can get your Tri-Brigade play started, or can help you get an extra Fire King monster in rotation. You can run more copies if you want, but I don't think it's too necessary. The 1 copy is perfectly fine. And for the final spell, 1 Called By. We don't want to get interrupted. Called By is just a nice extra card to have in the deck, so definitely consider running the Called By. Onto the traps now. 1 copy of your Tri-Brigade Revolt. We can search this off of our Bear Room in the extra deck. When this card is activated, you can special summon Tri-Brigade monsters that are banished or in your graveyard, and then immediately link summon using those monsters. So most of the time, you'll be special summoning 4 of your banished Tri-Brigade monsters to link summon into your Tri-Brigade Shuraig, which is an insanely strong boss monster, and this card also is able to recycle some of your banished cards. So if you have to banish some of your Fire King cards off of your Tri-Brigade effects, you're able to bring them back and put them back into the graveyard, where you can bring them back using the effects of your Fire King cards. So 1 copy Revolt, fantastic. And to round out the deck, triple Imperm, just a great hand trap. This rounds out the hand trap set at 12, but again, this can be any hand trap you like, so definitely change this up if you want, but triple Imperm, you can't go wrong. Onto the extra deck now, let's go with the Exes first. We have 1 Garunix Eternity and 1 Zombie Vampire. They're both rank 8s. What Garunix Eternity does is that on summon, it will destroy all monsters on the field, and that has the effect where you can target one of your opponent's spells or traps, destroy it, and then gain 500 attack. This card is really good at destroying a board, and it's also a really good interruption in combination with your Sanctuary, which lets you summon this card on your opponent's turn. Also has the effect where if it's destroyed, you can special summon a number of Fire King monsters from your graveyard, up to the number of material this card had when it was destroyed. So sometimes you're able to exit into this card, destroy it with something like a Kirin, and then special summon 2 more Fire King monsters from your graveyard, which is really, really good. This card has a ton of different applications, so it's really, really good to run in the deck. And Zombie Vampire, I think, has a lot of synergy with the deck. It's another generic rank 8, and it allows you to detach a material to send 4 cards from the top of each player's deck to the grave, and then if you send a monster, you can special summon one of the monsters you milled. This is really good for a number of reasons. 1, you can see what your opponent's playing. If they mill a certain card, you're able to tell what deck they're playing. Also, if you mill something good from your own deck, like a Fire King card or a Tri-Brigade card, you can special summon it, and then use its effect on the field. Really good synergy with your Tri-Brigade cards because you're loading up your graveyard with Beast, Beast Warrior, and Winged Beast monsters, so it's really good. Definitely consider running Zombie Vampire in this deck. Onto the links now. We have 1 copy of your Almirage. You summon this card using 1 normal summon monster with 1000 or less attack. And the main purpose of this card is to turn a normal summon of your Ponix or your Kitt into a fire monster while also sending the other card to grave. When Kitt is sent to grave, it will dump another Tri-Brigade card, so this is a good way to get it off the field. You can even normal summon one of your hand traps, link it off into Almirage, and since Almirage is a fire monster, you can crash it into one of your opponent's monsters and then trigger certain Fire King effects, which is really cool. You can special summon something like a Garunix from your hand, which is a really cool interaction if that's your only play. So 1 copy of Almirage serves a bunch of different functions, so definitely run it in the deck. Similar function, 1 copy of your Anima. It is not a fire, but it just needs 1 level 1 monster. And the main purpose of this card is basically to link off something like your Ponix to get it into grave, so you can revive it with something like Kirin or your Arvata. You can also steal your opponent's monster if it points to a monster your opponent controls. You can target it and equip it to your Anima, and it gains the attack. Won't come up all the time, but it's a cool effect to have. But for the most part, you're just using this card as a generic link 1 to get certain cards into the grave. Next up, 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix. Just generic back row removal, but it's also a fire. You can discard a card, target 1 spell trap your opponent controls, and destroy it. Good for back row removal, and a really good generic fire monster, so definitely run a Phoenix. Next up, 1 copy of Hita. Really good in fire decks, just needs 2 monsters including a fire monster, and during the main phase, if your opponent has a fire monster in the graveyard, you can target it and special summon it to a zone that it points to. So really good for link climbing, considering everyone plays Ash. A lot of the times they'll just have an Ash in grave that you can steal off of Hita. So it's really good for link climbing up into something like a Promethean Princess. So Hita is just a staple in pretty much any fire deck, but especially in this deck, it's really good. Next up, 1 Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. If a monster is summoned to a zone it points to, you're able to add back any fire monster from your graveyard. However, that monster cannot be special summoned this turn. So really good for getting certain cards back. If you dump something like Kirin, you're able to add it back as an interruption for next turn. Even cards like Ash, if you Ash your opponent, you're able to summon your Sunlight Wolf, summon a monster below it, and then you're able to add back the Ash for next turn. So a really good card at getting certain cards back from the grave. It won't always come up, but when it does, it's really strong. So 1 copy I think is great to run. Onto some Tri-Brigades now. 1 copy of your Tri-Brigade Fraktall. Just needs 2 Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monsters. has the effect where during your main phase, you can special summon a level 4 or lower beast, beast warrior, or wing beast directly from your hand. So really good for extending. Of course, all your Fire King monsters are also beast, beast warrior, or wing beast. So it's a free special summon of any of your Fire Kings. And if it's sent to the graveyard, you're able to draw a card and place one card from your hand to the bottom of your deck. This can be great for unbricking if you draw the OG Garunix. You can put it back into your deck and then draw a card. And this is really good for extending in general, so the 1 copy of Fergie is fantastic. Next up, 1 copy of your Tri-Brigade Bear Drum. If this card is sent to grave, you're able to add a Tri-Brigade spell trap from your deck to your hand and then place one card from your hand to the bottom of your deck. This card pretty much only exists to add your Tri-Brigade Revolt from your deck to your hand. It also has the effect where you can discard 2 cards to special summon one of your banished beast, beast warrior, or wing beast monsters, which can come up in certain situations, but for the most part, you're only using this to add your Revolt. Next up, for your Linktree Tri-Brigade monster, Tri-Brigade Rugal. During your opponent's turn, it can target a level 4 or lower beast, beast warrior, or wing beast in your grave, special summon it but negate its effects, and then return it to the hand during the end phase. Pretty much mainly just used for link climbing. However, in certain cases, getting a card back from the grave can be useful. It is only on your opponent's turn, but it's not terrible. It has some synergy bringing back a fire monster from the graveyard that can trigger some of your other Fire King monster effects. So 1 copy is fine, but you can definitely just replace this with anything else. Next up, 1 copy of your Promethean Princess, a generic Linktree. Whilst in the field, you are locked into fire monsters, but also has the effect where you can target any fire monster in your graveyard and special summon it. This pretty much special summons any card in the deck, and it's pretty much an instant rank 4 because you summon this, bring something back from the grave, and then go into any link 4. Also, whilst in the graveyard and your opponent special summons a monster, you can target 1 fire monster you control and 1 monster your opponent controls and destroy both. So really good at destroying your opponent's monsters and also triggering your own monster's effects. So Promethean Princess, a staple of fire decks and really important in the deck. Next up, 1 copy of your Amblowhale. You'll mainly be going into this using your Promethean Princess, bringing a card back from the grave and then linking into your link 4 Amblowhale. If this card in the field is destroyed, you can special summon any Linktree or lower monster from your graveyard. And then if a Linktree or lower monster on the field is destroyed, you can destroy 1 monster your opponent controls, non-targeting. So just a fantastic card. A really good endboard piece because you're able to pop it using a Promethean Princess, which sets up its effects. So I really like the 1 copy, it just makes your endboards so much better. Next up, 2 copies of your Tri-Brigade Shuraig, your main Tri-Brigade boss monster. It's a link 4, and on summon, it can banish any card in the field, non-targeting. So it's just an insane effect. The main way you'll be summoning this is by either banishing 4 monsters from the graveyard using your Tri-Brigade effects, or by using your Revolt to special summon 4 monsters and linking straight into Shuraig. Non-targeting banish is fantastic, but it also has the effect where if it's sent to grave, you can add from your deck to your hand 1 beast, beast warrior, or wing beast monster from your deck with a level equal to or lower than the amount of banished beast, beast warrior, or wing beast monsters you have in your banish zone. Considering if you summon this with a Tri-Brigade monster, you're already banishing 4, this can add you pretty much a level 4 or lower beast, beast warrior, or wing beast monster straight from your deck, which can be something like a Ponix or even your Ulcanix. So just a fantastic card in the deck. Definitely run 2 of this card, do not run 1. You really want to be able to use this as part of your main combo and as a disruption, so the 2 copies of Shuraig is fantastic. And finally, 1 Accesscode Talker, fantastic in Tri-Brigade builds. You're able to get him out really easily, and considering we run a few link 4s in the deck, we can pretty much get Accesscode Talker up to pretty high attack, and we all know what Accesscode Talker does: banish a link monster from your graveyard, target a card in the field and destroy it. And although a lot of our link monsters are fire, a lot of our Tri-Brigade link monsters are different attributes like dark and earth, so we can get a good few pops with Accesscode Talker, so it's a great card to round out the deck. So that's it for my Fire King Tri-Brigade deck. Overall, very happy with how this deck turned out. Unfortunately, the deck has lost a lot of popularity over time, but with Ulcanix coming out, this deck sees a whole new life. The synergy is fantastic, it's a really fun Fire King build, and as a Tri-Brigade build, it's great as well. The synergy is just unmatched. Definitely give this deck a try. If you have any suggestions or ideas, let me know in the comments. So thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, make sure you check out our affiliate links in the description. We have a TCG player affiliate link in the description. If you wanted to buy this deck in real life, you could use that link. And if you buy cards using that link, you directly support the channel. And if you want access to our videos early, consider becoming a member. Thank you to Kirin Thompson, our first member. We really appreciate the support. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for more content.